Hey, welcome back to the Build It Basement. Today, a little bit of a different video than I've done in the past. Been recording things in time lapse, and I'm going to play the time lapse while I provide commentary of what I'm doing. To allow anybody that's watching the video to pause or slow it down a little bit while they're watching. Ask any questions you have below. Planning on doing a live stream probably this weekend. Today is Thursday, so not Friday, but possibly Saturday or Sunday. I'm going to put that out probably tomorrow, a notification of that coming out. So if you're interested in that, do subscribe, do hit that bell so you get notified that live stream is coming. And without any further ado, let's finish this Voron up. All right, guys. So I apologize for anybody that really wanted to watch this in all its agony. I did have a few people that were really thinking things were getting long in the tooth, and I have to agree. It's difficult when you're building your first printer and it's something relatively complicated as a Voron printer. Not that I haven't put together a printer, but building from scratch a Voron printer takes some time. So next half hour or so is the remainder of the build, including rewiring my my tool head for the Linneo harness I got, crimping and doing the additional wiring I needed to fit the Linneo kit to the Voron. So I will say it right off the bat: if you do get a wiring harness, do be prepared to still do some crimping. You're not going to get out of it 100%. You'll get out of it 90%. So let's start it up. So the first thing I found, and I'm actually watching this with you here, is my connectors that I had put on my tool head for the harness I was building was different than what came with the Linneo kit. Not that I had the wrong connectors on there, because they were actually the same DuPont style Molex connectors, but males and females were a little bit different. Where they used a quad 2x2, I used a 4 crossed because I thought it saved a little bit of room. Some small things like that. I also trimmed things back a little bit further because their wiring had some leads on it that were a little bit longer, so it kind of made sense. So basically here, doing some stripping, some crimping. And I might, as I'm watching this here with you guys, I'm probably going to go ahead and pause it a few times to go over a couple things I noticed. One thing right there with the those 2 cards that they give you with that wiring harness, don't throw it away. They do give you some stickers and some other junk with the harness, stuff that you can use, you cannot use. If you're the type of person that likes that stuff, cool. If not, then you'll probably chuck it. But those 2 cards that you're seeing in the video right there, one being your stepper motor wiring with specifically that yellow band that shows you basically the A and the B sides. And right there, showing some crimps. I did get pretty decent at doing crimps by starting to build my own harness, but time, right? So yeah, so that stepper motor paperwork right there is pretty good because the harness they give you actually has yellow. It's not really a heat shrink, but it has a yellow marker around those 2 wires, so you know which one's A and which one's B. The other thing that came with that is that black card that you see there. So I believe every single wire that came with that kit has a heat shrunk on letter identification as to what that is on either end. So when you go to plug it in on your tool head, on your stepper motors, you know what they are when you get down to your board. And there's me showing off my crimps again, huh? Yeah. All right. So, and like I said, if you were hoping that I was going to do this all live as I've been doing, I apologize. I do plan on building another printer relatively soon. Actually, I just got this in the mail today. Probably do a video about it. That's an Octopus. So I've already kind of jumped ahead. You'll watch this video. I'm making this video. What am I doing there? Okay, so right there, I'll pause what I was saying. Right there, I am using a bench power supply to feed some voltage to the fan motors, just to confirm which one was the parts cooler and which one was the tool head or the hot end cooler. And I'm referencing the card against what I'm seeing there. Doing some more crimping. Probably gonna redo a crimping video, probably be like a 3.5-minute video. But I don't know if it's a practice thing or if you just, you know, come up with some better ways of doing things. But I tell you what, if it wasn't for the time it takes to stream the wires and mark everything, I think I've gotten pretty good at crimping. It's actually kind of fun. And now that I have tons of unused silicon wire, I maybe I do a V0 or something, crimp my own harness. Who knows? So, like I was saying, on standby. Yeah. So, like I was saying, I got the Octopus card, the board here with me. I have a spider installed currently in the printer, and when this video is done, I am gonna probably do a quick XY home on it, just so you guys can see. It'll be the first video of my actual VORON printer doing anything on its own. My Z switch is still sitting on the build surface, so I can't Z home it for you. But things are going well. I'll have a whole series of videos during the live stream. I'm going to be working on the Clipper config, specifically the printer CFG file, and go over things I've found. I'm actually probably going to go pretty hard on the FYSECT people. It's back to why I have that box that I showed you a minute ago. That was an Octopus again. So about as soon as I got my board installed and I started testing things, which was about as soon as I was able to flip everything back over, I had some issues with that board, the spider board. First issue being the bootloader didn't seem to be properly in it. The board can come with a couple of different bootloaders, a 32K and a 64K. And there's some different addressing and things that go on with that. But based on the revision of my board and based on the date, I was pretty sure I knew what I had, which is 32. It's a relatively recent board, but either it didn't have that or it was just corrupt from factory. So right there, I'm showing you about that yellow marker on those. But I had to basically download the STM flashing software so I could reflash a bootloader to the spider board. So I had software issues with that. Again, I'll talk about those during the live stream. And I also had some hardware issues with some of the header pins on the board itself. So overall, and maybe I'll get flamed for this, I don't know, but the quality control on the board I received seemed to be lacking. And just real quick, I'll mention it. If you're going to produce a board and you're going to have revisions in bootloaders and things like that that really do matter, then you should put a sticker on the box. You should put a sticker on the actual board, so there's no question as to what you have. Don't do it by date, because sometimes date codes are hard to read. Put an actual sticker on things. So right here, we're back on the printer. What am I doing there? Oh, that's the inductive probe. So there again, the inductive probe on, or the BL Touch. What do they list on that piece of paper? Do I have that around? So they list it as leveling probe. Okay. So the leveling probe that they list on their piece of paper right there, has a different, or had a different connector on it than I had decided to use originally. Again, they're using the I don't remember what they were using. Did they use a 4-cross on that? It was different, nonetheless. So the kit I purchased, I'm gonna actually pause this real quick. There. So the kit that I had purchased from KB3D, Also came, well, the only harness I was able to get, they were able to send me a harness relatively quickly because I told them to send me whatever they had, and they told me what they had, and I said, okay, I'll take that. And it was pre-crimped for their XY Microswitch board that they sell as well. And because of that, I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I ordered the one that they had to go with that harness. And I had to reprint a part for that to hold the XY because it doesn't fit in the regular Voron printed part for that. So in the background, I'm putting that together, and oh, right there, hold on, pause that again. So right there is the part, the way that it's supposed to be. Basically, it's got connections. It's more hollow, I guess. So they're able to put the connector on the opposite side of the board. So I had to print that out when I was doing my build. So note to yourself, if you do get the XY board from KB3D or somebody else, you're going to have to print a different holder for that. By the way, new microphone. I don't know how it sounds. Well, I know it sounds, I assume it sounds pretty good, but hopefully I sound better than I have in the past. Switching up some camera angles so you can see. I'm remounting those micro switches with that new print on there. And just double checking my harness, make sure it plugs in. So right here, I'm kind of starting to figure out how I'm going to run this harness. And it's really not that complicated. Putting my tool head back on. I'm gonna have to take that apart a little bit. I built it. When you're doing videos, just for somebody that doesn't do videos on YouTube, it's interesting because you wind up doing things 2 or 3 times at least, and sometimes 4 or 5, depending on what it is. You do it once. Oh, I guess it depends how confident you are. You do it once on camera, and then you wind up taking it apart and redoing it because a lot of times when you do that, you are doing it for show more than do. That makes sense. But a lot of times what I'm doing is once off camera, just so you don't look like a complete idiot when you do it, and then once on camera, and then once again when you're actually putting it back together. So, not sure why that's paused. Hmm. Odd. Having some technical difficulties here. All right, go ahead and pause it there for a second. So your drag chains that you're putting in. So not much to say really. You just want to get stuff in there pretty neat. You don't want it to be overstretched. You don't want it to be really sloppy and everything to be really loose in there. For some reason, there is an issue with this video. So I think when it skips ahead here, that's going to be mostly installed, but hopefully not. Let's see where we wind up here. So we're on the back of the machine now. And I don't believe everything's in drag chain yet, but we'll double check here in a second. If not, I'll talk a little bit more about that. Nonetheless, I'm curling up my Z-axis motor wiring. I could have cut that all short, but I would have had to re-crimp the connectors on those and whatnot. That would have been more time. What am I doing here? Printing something. Oh, I know what I was printing. I believe, I'm just going to go back on that real quick. I'll pause that. What was I doing? It's a Microswitch pod. Ah, yeah. So I printed off these cable clips, which are pretty neat. Let me see if I can go find one real quick while you're watching that. So got an STL for these. Don't know if you've ever played the game Space Invaders, like the old school Space Invader game, but these little guys look like Space Invaders. I call them my Space Invader clips. And they work great. They clip right into your rails, allow you to run your wire on top of them and zip tie to them. So I printed off a bunch of those. They really did neat up a lot of the wiring. I'll show you on the printer when we get to that part here. So what am I doing here? I am crimping on some ferrules. So these ferrules are for power connections. I believe these are going to be for the solid state relay and possibly for the board itself. So excuse me on that. I haven't connected any of the wiring yet, but the wiring harness is through, which means I do have a cable chain. So before I finish up this video, I will give you a little bit of a view on that when I do the video of the XY homing for the first time. Let's see here. Right now I'm trying out a cable cover that I tried, which was horrible, broke apart, terrible. Putting my display back on. And that's actually one of the things I have to sort out right now. And it, from what I've seen here and there, is there are some issues with the display connection. Right now I'm trying to find some information. Anyways, this is the display connection between your display and the spider board. And it seems to be a spider board related thing. So I'm looking at a board schematic right now and just confirming what connector goes where. So at this point, I'm basically looking at the wiring markers on the harness, the Linneo harness. I'm comparing that to, again, the card they give you, and then comparing that to the wire diagram for the actual spider board. So I got most of, like I don't have my X or my Y stops on there yet, but it does look like I have my inductive probe plugged in possibly. I haven't put my stepper sticks in there yet. So yeah, on all, another thing to mention about the spider board that everybody knows about at this point, but there's an issue with storage or power being held on the board improperly in a capacitor or two, I don't know. And it's being basically capacitors, unless they have some type of way of resisting how quickly the current comes or the energy comes out of them, they release it very quickly. That's what they're meant to do. And because of that, the board stores power in a capacitor. There's no leak to ground or anything like that that will slowly dissipate that voltage or properly slowly dissipate that voltage, because it will dissipate eventually. The thing that they tell you to do is basically use a 100K resistor across the power connections on the spider board. So be sure if you are using a spider board and it's had power before you put your stepper sticks on there, do consider draining the power on that board. It takes about 10-15 minutes. Design flaw. I don't know if it's on the 1.1 board or just the 1.0, but it's definitely on the 1.0 board. And that's what that board is. It's 1.0. So it looks like I've done my, I don't know if that's the X or the Y, but done that. It looks like my, here we're hooking up power. So that's power to the board. And what are we doing now? Oh, I'm putting the heat sinks on those steppers. So they give you little heat sinks with steppers normally. They tend to come with them. Those are 2209 steppers, TMC 2209s. So little blue heat sinks with those. You want to just kind of center those on the chip on the board. The adhesive, it just seems like normal, honestly. It's kind of funny. The adhesive that they use on those just seems like double-sided tape. So I'm sure that it conducts some of the heat energy, out of the chip and into the actual heatsink, but it's minimal. It's not like it's actually a conductive glue, as far as I could tell. So I got my magnet on my bed, and I am trimming out the screw head areas. They sit underneath the magnet, so not a big deal there. Just makes it easier to work with. You could forego the magnet if you wanted to. You really don't need to have that. You could always clip onto your board or your bed. It all depends on what you want to do. If you're doing a lot of high temp printing, you may want to consider not going with a magnet. Magnets tend to lose their magnetivity. I think that's the right word, right? Magnetivity. Once they go over about 110 degrees Celsius for a period of time. Once you get up to about 130 or so, I believe it's kind of like a quick loss on that. So magnets don't like heat. So right now I'm putting on my 3 conductor pin connector. I have my inline, through that side, huh? I have my inline fuse on that as well. So, and I got my ground. So it's ground and then power going through the fuse and then coming back out. AC current always makes a loop. So power is going into the fuse, into the board, or into the heat mat, and then back out to the board. So if there was an issue, if the fuse did let go, it'd stop power from flowing to that heat mat before it even got there, as opposed to the other way around. So it will make it so it's not energized. The electricity stops at the fuse, as opposed to at the mat. So I had already pre-adjusted the length on those drag chains. They did come slightly long to what I needed. It's kind of odd. Sometimes you find some odd things with kits that you buy. Again, this was a FormBot kit, which I didn't really have any problems with it. I had more problems with the spider board than the actual FormBot kit. But the drag chains, they gave me a little long, and only by like a section or 2 or 3, maybe 4. And surprising thing is, usually when people try to cut costs, they don't like to give you extra things. So a little surprised I had to cut those down a little bit. Well, not cut them, clip them down, unclip them down, pull them apart. So my inductive probe is still sitting low in this video. It's actually still low on the printer too. I'm leaving it that way until I get things to a point where I feel everything is running semi-properly. What am I doing here? What am I doing? Okay, so I'll pause that real quick. So the Bowden tube that goes into your hot end, the length of that's going to be determined by the type of hot end you have. Here, they're showing a relatively long piece of Bowden tube. Mine was nowhere near that long for the Dragon hot end I purchased, but it took a little trial and error as to how long I needed that to be. I did try, and it will be in this video. I'll actually start it back up. I did try to do some measurements to try to figure out exactly how long it should be and then make it that length. But in the end, it was easier to basically take it, adjust it, just shave it down a little bit to make it just right. It's hard to measure once you get in there. I'm actually loosening up the polycarbonate portion of my hot end so I can get my piece of Bowden tube in there. And I'm using Capricorn Bowden tube material. I've had some. I didn't buy it special for this, but I had some. It's supposedly a little bit better. It's PTFE, so should be good. I'm trying to chamfer the inside of that and the outside a little bit just to stop it from having any feed issues. And those are actual tube cutting scissors, I guess we'll call them tube cutters. make it so you don't crush the tube when you cut them. And that's a big pair. They make much smaller ones. That's me trying to measure. If I recall, I even show the measurement, but don't pay attention to that measurement. It probably won't help you. So I'm trimming off just little tiny bits on there. I would say probably 0.5 millimeter or so at a time. Confirming that that goes in there. And a way back video, I went over printing polycarbonate. Yeah, don't pay attention. I think I said 7 on it. I actually printed that polycarbonate portion of the duct in the backer for the hot end on my Ender 5. Took a little trial and error, but I did get it done, and it's relatively, more than relatively, it's pretty solid. No cracking or anything like that. I'm not worried about it cracking. I will tell you one of the first things I do plan on printing with this printer are some replacement parts for the printer. I'll probably do a full set of parts, and that will be swap out any parts that I think are substandard, and possibly build another. If not, a VORON 2.4 or Trident, something similar, or 0. I think I'm making 0 for the kids. It's been a while since I put everything together, so just going back and looking at those length on those screws, I believe. Make sure I put the right one on the right side. I believe one was 30 millimeter and the other was 20 millimeter. And you can see right there, my inductive probe is way low, so don't leave me a comment about my inductive probe being low. I know it's low. I left it like that on purpose. I want it to be there to hit anything before everything else hits it. Again, I'd rather do things 2 or 3 times than do them once and have to fix something. So one of the most, and I haven't looked yet, I'm guessing. The cover that they make to put over your wiring is too small. You can get everything in there, but it's a tight fit. It really is. And I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a loop coming off the back there that later becomes an issue because it starts to rub against my my drag chain on the very back, my Z drag chain. But yeah, you could use a little bigger cover on the Afterburner for covering up those wires. And I don't think it would hurt anything to have a little bit bigger of a cover. So here, so I think this is when I realized that my pin, yeah, I think I realized that my pin, actually I was just putting together my pins. At one point I realized that my pins for my AC voltage coming in was inverted. So I want to make sure that the fuse was on the in and not on the out. It's pretty much done here, but I'm finalizing right there. The underside's all done at this point. So at that point, there we go. Pretty much a working Voron. So may have seemed like a long video. Hopefully it didn't. It was as short as I could possibly make it and kind of finalize this printer. And then fast forward to now. And with that being said, quick video of the Voron. So I got you here on my move cam, call it my shaky cam. And before we get too far on that, I'm going to go ahead and bring up my fluid for my Voron. Let me get my screen here. And this is currently my fluid front end for Clipper as it stands for this printer. And what I'm going to do is a quick X and a quick Y just to show that my X and Y are working, so stand by. So here's X. Very quiet, very smooth. Quick. Oh! Not good. See what happened real quick. For some reason, let's go back to the screen. For some reason, it looks like it didn't see my end stop. So let's confirm that the end stop's working here. Yeah, that's X working. X open. Y. Okay, so that's working. Not quite sure what happened there. Okay, let's try do a quick Y. Whoa. I got something going on. A little odd. So I will tell you with 100% certainty, I was able to X and Y earlier this evening. And now I'm having some issues. Not sure why, but I am. So I guess we'll go ahead and cut this video off for now. Printer's built, wiring is done. Printer config obviously has some issues to work out. Going to be doing a live stream pretty soon here, so I will send out notification of that when I figure out exactly when I can set aside a couple hours to do that live stream. In that live stream, I'm going to answer questions if you have any from my build all the way up through. I'm going to be working while I'm answering those questions on my clipper configuration for the printer and possibly be able to get a printout. We'll see. At least do some tests, right? Do a test print maybe. So I hope you join me on my next video. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Hit that notification bell so you get notified about that live stream. And check out my last few videos or my videos from the start if you want. If you're interested in building a Voron printer, definitely a good learning experience, something that is fun to do. It is time consuming, but it's a hobby. I've gone to the point where it seems like I spend more time building and printing parts for printers than actually printing parts from or printing stuff from the printer for other things, but I do that too. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully I'll see you soon. And again, subscribe if you haven't. I'll leave a couple links down below for the clips I made and the modification for that XY switch. Yeah, leave some comments and talk to you soon.